Good morning, everyone. I'm Lola with LolaRist.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm getting ready to do my Facebook Live, but I gotta get it pulled up on my computer first. There it is. Okay. And of course, every time I enlarge it, the volume's gonna go up. Morning, and of course, every time there you go. See what I mean? Okay, all right, we have got it going here. Okay, so give this a few minutes to get everyone's news feed going. I remember my mother telling me back several years ago, when they were probably in their early 70s, late 60s, she said your social calendar is based on basically your doctor's appointments and your visitations and funerals. Good morning, Doris. Nice to have you. Glad that you're going to be able to enjoy some time with a friend today. Anyhow, I need sympathy cards, and I go through a lot of sympathy cards. I don't know about any of you, but it seems to be one of the most needed cards that I have. So today I want to share just 3 sets that are in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. Specifically, these are the 3. It's a fish with a wish, a fish and a wish, hope and prayer, and then the olive branch. And I'm going to be using the olive branch today to do some shadow stamping. But I also wanted to make sure you saw these. These are in the catalog on page 70 and 71, I believe. I'll be using this one for my card ministry at church. We will tomorrow. And all 3 of them have great little sayings and things. I'm taking this greeting here for you today on my card, and I'm posting it with this greeting down here. May your heart begin to heal. So this is where we're going today. So this morning, I have already gotten my post done on my blog, and if you've not seen it, it was our Christmas tag box that we finished. It is so cute. Last week we worked on tags all week long, and so I was able to get it completed. Wanted to yesterday, but I just didn't get that done. So we're gonna go on ahead, and we've got that posted on LolaRist.com. So we're moving on into, like I said, sympathy cards. And I wanted to do one today that was called shadow stamping. Shadow stamping has multiple different ways of going about it. Some people would just say that's first generation, second generation stamping, where you stamp on and then you stamp off. But I wanted to actually do some heat embossing, and I wanted to do it with 2 different kinds of inks. So we're going to go on ahead, and this is the stamp. This is going to be the one that we used from the olive branch stamp set. So I'm going to start with a piece of soft succulent. And let's get this measured. I need my ruler here. This is 3 3/4 by 5. 3 3/4 by 5. Not the normal measurements that I normally go with. Good morning, Patricia. I'm needing sympathy cards today, Patricia. I don't know about you, but it seems to be one of the ones I use the most of. So we're going to do some shadow stamping. I need a total of 3. And so I'm going to go on ahead and do 2 of them today. The first one I did with no blending in the background. You can go on ahead and take a little bit of your blending brush and a little bit of ink and just softly add some shadow to it. Quite honestly, this is not an easy part for me. I get in a rush and I start zooming through it, and the next thing you know, I end up with a bunch of smudgy spots on my card. The trick to it is to not start on the card with the brush, but it's to start off the brush onto the paper and then take your brush to the paper. And that gets rid of enough of the ink and it blends it down just enough, okay? So I'm adding some soft succulent, not a lot, just a little bit to darken that down a little bit. And I'm gonna turn my page so I can get a little down in this area too. And then I'll just fade it out. Patricia, do you use the blending brushes very often? We've seemed to be on a roll with them here the last month or two. Pam and I have. We've been just using them in different classes and techniques, things, and it just seems like you take spurts. Okay, so I've done that one. I'm gonna go on ahead, and like I said, you may not see it, but it is there, okay? If I lay this one to the side, you can barely see the difference. So I'm gonna go on ahead and do the same with this one and not get in the hurry that I normally am. Have you got any of them, Patricia? They kind of, I was really excited. The first time I saw them, I got them actually on Amazon. I had a gal who was at a retreat and she showed us how to use them. She had gotten them and we were all just like, oh my gosh, so much better than the sponge. But there is a little learning curve to it because if you don't start off the paper, you will start getting a smudge. And my ink is light. But like I said, I am so bad about getting a heavy hand and getting too fast and rushing that I don't, I'm not very even. When I say off the side, here's what I'm talking about. And this one's not doing it as much because there's not as much ink, but okay, there's your smudges coming through. You can see it right there. So the true trick of it is to go on ahead and start off the paper and then pull them off to the side. Okay, so Patricia, you get 3 brushes in the package, and I will show you how to clean those brushes. And if I don't watch it, I'm gonna have smudge. So let me go on ahead and finish up down here. Okay. All right, so the trick to cleaning them is to go to the dollar store and to get some of the microfiber cloths. Or as one of my gals comes, she's a Norwex demonstrator, so she has gobs and gobs of the little facial small ones, and so she's like, oh, they work great. And they do. It's just that it's too expensive for me. I won't use my Norwex for this. So the idea is to take your brush and go back and forth on your microfiber cloth, and it will lift out some of the ink. Eventually, there won't be any ink left in the brush, but I will tell you that there will be some staining on the brush, and you may say, oh my gosh, that's ink. No, that is nothing more than pigment that has stained the brush. But if you go to a piece of paper and you try on the paper, there is nothing there. Nothing is there. And eventually, if you get them dark enough, I will take them over to my sink and I will just get my fingers soapy with some Dawn and just rub the Dawn in it and then start running water through it and get that soap out. It'll still stain it. It's just like the red, how the red stain our stamps. Once they're stained, you can't remove it. But you can go on ahead and get out any extra ink residue, tap it, and then I just literally lay it on the side of my sink and let it air dry up. You don't want to tip it over because you don't want those bristles to bend, but they are the softest thing. Oh my gosh, this is like awesome. And when you don't have any ink in them, you can use them for makeup brushes too. So there you go, double whammy. All right, so we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna start with our card. And I have my cards mats here, and they have the soft succulent up at the top. So I'm going to take the olive branch, and I have already used this multiple times today, so I need to make sure I've got the Versamark off of it. Okay. Gonna clean it. Okay, and I am gonna absorb any of that foamy stuff around it. Okay, we'll be coming back to this here in a minute. We're gonna start with our evening evergreen, and I stamped it up and inked it up so that it's good and juicy. So I'm gonna go on ahead and I'm gonna softly ink up my stamp. When a stamp is large like this, you're better off if you just turn the stamp itself over and ink, because then you can have a better idea of how much coverage you're getting on the stamp and where you're not maybe getting all the ink, okay? All right, I'm gonna go on ahead and take this. This is my piece, and I'm gonna stamp this towards the top, like so. I don't want to rock it or anything. I don't want any edges to it, but I'm going to keep the pressure on it so that that ink really absorbs in. Okay. Because I need 3 cards and I only have 1, I'm doing it again. Hey, Tina, I hope you're with us today, you in Oakland. I was saying it early before either of you were on. I was commenting with Doris. I said, I remember my mom talking about how the older you get, your social calendar becomes your doctor's appointments and your visitations and funerals. And isn't that sad? Jim and I feel like we have reached that age in our life that we're seeing more of our friends passing away. So, makes it hard. Makes it very hard. All right, now I want to clean these good. So I'm going back over to my stamping cleaner. And this one is going down to the utility room when I'm done because I need to wash this. Need to get it washed. Okay, so now, before I do my Versamark, I want to make sure these are really good and dry. Hi, Sandy Wurr. Yep, you know that too, don't you? The first one that I did today of the shadow, I didn't dry this off. And when I got done embossing, I'm like, holy cow. I had embossing all over this, so it was all splotchy. So I'm going to make sure that I've got that ink good dry. We are making 2 sympathy cards tomorrow at the Card Ministry, Sandy. And I hope to have us done no later than 10 o'clock. We should be done because I'm doing as much prep as I can ahead of time, so that we can get right to your quilting. Okay, so now I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to stamp it again, but I'm going to stamp it with Versamark. So I've been very vocal about on my Facebook page and stuff that we lost our good friend Erin. Oh my gosh, the things that we can go back and talk about with Erin. Laughingly, I left. I said the things, that happen like in Vegas, that, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not really. If it was up to Erin, if it was something that happened to Erin, we all were sharing it. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring my Versamark down a little bit. down. Okay. And then I'm going to lift it up. And you can see it there. You can see it. I'm going to go on ahead and stamp it or cover it with the embossing powder. And I'm going to do, I can hear Pam in the background. She's not here, but she's in my ear saying, cover it, pour it out, pour it out. I am so bad about not using gobs of this stuff. All right, but now it's covered. All right. Okay, so there's one, but I want to get both of them done so I can do them both. So we're going to do this one. Good, I'm glad that's going to give plenty of time for you. I was able to figure out my comments, finally. It's not easy sitting here when you're sitting here feeling like you're talking to yourself and nobody's there and trying to be social. So I appreciate the comments a lot. Okay, so now we've got this one down. We're going to clean after. Let's get this covered in embossing. You kind of have to be picky as to the stamp for shadow stamping, because if it has too much open area in it, that's not the best. You want something that's got some pretty good cover on it so that you're not seeing the other image through the other image. I hope that makes sense. I tried one on the tried the ginkgo leaf on the Nature's Prints, I believe it was. And it didn't work because it was too open. And so it just didn't work. It didn't work. Let's just face it. It didn't work. I am using white embossing powder, Patricia. White embossing powder. Okay, so we've got white embossing powder on it. Boy, that doesn't look like it's very much. So I'm going to put a little more on this one and hope that we get good coverage. Okay. All right, now before I do this, I want to get this tray out of the way. I can see me blowing it with my dryer, and the next thing you know, it all takes off. No matter how hard you try, that little dust is everywhere. All right, so here we go. The first time I ever did embossing, heat embossing, someone, a good friend Tanya said, oh, watch. Ah, the magic. And I was like, she's right. It is pretty magical, isn't it? Watching heat embossing. Love to watch it. One of our tales of Aaron and Kathy and Jim and I, we were young. We were young 20s, late 20s, you know. And we had gone to a new restaurant. We had been there several times. It was one of our favorites. Sandy, you'll know it. It's called Pear Tree. Tina, you'll know that. And Pear Tree was in Bevere at that time. And we went, just the four of us, and we were having a wonderful time. Oh my gosh, just sitting and laughing and having such a good time. And both of us are fairly newlyweds. You know, Megan was already here by the time this was happening. But Aaron and Kathy had just been married. And I was being silly, and I was playing footsie with my husband under the table, you know, just on his calf and no place else, just his calf. And I'm like, oh, And I finally looked at Jim and I said, Jim, I can't believe you. I'm sitting here playing footsie with you and you're not responding. And he looked at me and he said, you're not playing footsie with me. Erin, is she playing footsie with you? And Erin's like, yes, I just didn't know how to say it. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, Lord have mercy. So yeah, we laughed and laughed over that multiple times. Multiple times. And that's what helps you, is those laughing comments and those things. So we're going to go on ahead now. And I'm going to put the stamp here that says here for you. And I want it in the bottom. And I'm going to do it on both of them. Here for you. I hope I didn't get a line just then. Good, 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 good. When you have embossed anything, it kind of warps the paper, and I could feel it. And I thought, oh man, I hit it wrong. So I'm going to take this paper, which is, again, 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm going to adhere it to a piece of evening evergreen, which is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So it's just barely bigger. Not normal measurements that I normally use. Okay. And my paper's not taking the adhesive. One more. Oh gosh. Okay, so there's that. Let's get some ribbon, because I love ribbon. So Erin worked at the Nelson Art Gallery in Kansas City for years while he was working on his undergraduate degree for music. And he was a band director. And he was like 6'5". I guarantee that he put the fear of God in those kids at band. Guarantee it. I watched him once take a podium at one of my band groups, and the look on my kid's face when he stepped up on the podium, they're like, oh, because he's so tall. But that also helped him, I believe, that the kids, knowing that he was so dang big, they were like, we're not doing anything to cause any problems here. So, all right. Got that one. And I normally would adhere this down, but I wanted a little bit different look today. So I'm putting it up on dimensionals on my card. Carol, it's no time for you to be back, or no trouble for you to be late. You come and go as you need to. We're just glad you came in for a little while. So we're working on sympathy cards. And this is called shadow stamping. That's one. And one more. Oh, don't have the ribbon on yet. We would go to the state music conventions down in Tantera. Of all the times, it was January. Who would go down on a snowy type of thing? But that was the only time that Tantera had the everything available to house everybody, because they had thousands and thousands of kids coming in, and professors and college groups and music teachers, and they needed the full facility. And so January was the time, and we always got snowed in. It never failed. We always got snowed in. So I drove down with Erin that first year to Tantera. Of course, we both had different people and friends that we stayed with while we were down there. And I ran into him one night, and holy cow, was he toasted. He was so toasted. And he saw me and was so excited, and he said, "Oh, Lola, I'm not drunk. I'm just happy." And I'm like, right. He was toasted. And the next day, I saw him mid-morning at one of the clinics, and he kind of looked at me with bleary eyes, and he said, Did I run into you last night by any chance?" I'm like, "Yes, you did. But don't worry, you weren't drunk." He's like, "Oh gosh, yes I was." I said, "I know you were." I said, "You were toasted." And he's like, "Oh no." So yeah, that was the joke too. "Oh, don't worry, you're not drunk." Sorry guys, I just need to reminisce a little bit. I hope you're okay with that. Okay. All right, so we've got those. I want to go on ahead and get the insides in, and I've already done one. And somewhere, here's the other paper, so let's do that one right now. So we're going to take in that branch, that olive branch, we're going to go on ahead and take the smaller one and stamp it here in the corner. And then I have the greeting that says, and this is not in the olive branch, this is in the one that is, hope and prayer. But that's on page 79 or 71 in your catalog. I hope I got this right. May your heart begin to heal. Okay, so we're going to put these on the inside and a little bit of embellish. And guys, that's my Facebook Live for today. So there's one, and there's two. And I have my cards for Katie, Callie, and Kathy. Callie, Katie, and Kathy. Can you imagine? But they kept them straight. All right, so our little trick from Doris is pulling this out. And I will tell you, these are my old ones. These are gems from last year's catalog, but I have quite a few. I'm kind of one of those that use what you got. Any of the silver rhinestones would work. Any kind of gems, I just needed to get them used. And I guarantee that these will probably show up in the clearance rack sometime, at which point everybody could say, "Oh, we can use them again." But I am using them. And I will slide this back in. Our little trick from Doris that is such a game changer with gems. Not use that, you need to. Simply cut the package on one side and pull them out, and it's so much easier than getting in and out with the adhesive. Okay. Yep. Patricia, you're right. Sympathy cards are very, very difficult to make, but very, very needed. I thank you for being with me today and just letting me reminisce a little bit about Erin. So you take care. Have a great day. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.